Power on. Captain Power and the soldiers of the future.
Remember those live-action heroes fighting robot apocalypse with interactive toys?
These Blastar Guardians are pretty cool.
Captain Power wasn't just Mattel's ambitious experiment. It was absolutely catastrophic behind the scenes. Today, we're counting down 20 explosive facts about that dystopian future that'll make you see Power On.
Power on.
In a whole new light. 20. The show was created to sell defective toys. Mattel commissioned Captain Power specifically to move inventory of interactive light gun technology that was failing commercially. The toy weapons used infrared sensors that malfunctioned constantly, frustrating children and parents. The show existed as a last-ditch effort to salvage $40 million investment in flawed technology. Mattel knew the toys were defective, but needed television show to create demand before admitting failure. The interactive gimmick worked less than 50% of the time, generating massive return rates. The futuristic warriors were marketing last gasp for products engineering couldn't fix. Sometimes innovation means desperately selling broken toys through expensive television propaganda. 19. Tim Dunnigan was fired mid-season. For being too old, original Captain Power actor. Tim Dunnigan was replaced after 5 episodes because executives deemed him insufficiently youthful.
Power, master of the incredible power suits, which transform each soldier into a one-man attack force.
The 40-year-old actor was told his age showed on camera, despite being hired specifically. Mattel wanted younger demographic appeal, demanding casting change that destroyed production continuity. Dunnigan learned about his firing from Variety, not from producers who avoided confronting him. The show reshot his scenes with younger actor, wasting $300,000 in completed footage. The hero fighting for humanity's future was fired for the crime of aging. Sometimes your biggest enemy isn't robots, but executives' obsession with youth demographics. 18. The CGI budget bankrupted the production. Captain Power's groundbreaking computer graphics cost $75,000 per episode versus $15,000 budgeted. The CGI sequences consumed entire budgets, leaving nothing for practical effects or production value. Each digitization effect required hours of rendering on computers that crashed constantly. The studio went millions over budget by season 1's end, forcing emergency cost-cutting everywhere. Later episodes feature noticeably cheaper effects as money vanished into digital black hole. The show pioneered television CGI while proving it was financially unsustainable in 1987. Innovation bankrupted the production faster than any villain could. 17. J. Michael Straczynski wrote while suicidal. Head writer J. Michael Straczynski battled severe depression during production, writing while actively suicidal. His script's darkness reflected genuine mental health crisis he was experiencing privately. Straczynski later revealed he wrote Captain Power while planning his own death seriously. The show's bleakness about humanity's destruction mirrored his psychological state of hopelessness. Colleagues noticed his isolation, but 1980s television had zero mental health support systems. He credited the work with keeping him alive by giving purpose during crisis. The dystopian future was imagined by someone who couldn't imagine his own future continuing. 16. The interactive gimmick caused seizures. The flashing lights from TV screen interactions triggered photosensitive epileptic seizures in children. Multiple hospitalizations were reported within first month of broadcast and toy sales. Mattel faced lawsuits from parents whose children had seizures during interactive gameplay. The company added vague warnings, but refused recalling defective products already sold. Medical experts warned the technology was dangerous for neurologically vulnerable children. The futuristic weapons were literally attacking the brains of kids using them. Innovation doesn't consider whether it's safe, only whether it's profitable. 15. The cast performed stunts without safety equipment. The production's extreme budget overruns led to cutting safety coordinators and proper stunt equipment. Actors performed dangerous stunts themselves without training or protective gear. Multiple cast members were injured during action sequences that couldn't afford stunt doubles. Jessica Steen suffered concussion during explosion scene that used real pyrotechnics improperly. The set became increasingly dangerous as budget collapsed and corners were cut desperately. The soldiers of the future were literally risking their lives because accountants cut safety budgets. Sometimes the real war is between profit margins and human safety. 14. The toys bankrupted small retailers. Mattel forced retailers to buy massive inventory of interactive toys that didn't sell. Small toy stores went bankrupt from unsold Captain Power merchandise they couldn't return.
They were soldiers of the future. Mankind's last hope.
And here we have Mankind's Last Hope.
The company used strong-arm tactics, threatening to cut off popular toy access if stores didn't order Captain Power. Retailers lost millions on products that sat on shelves while Mattel collected upfront payments. The predatory business practices destroyed independent toy stores across North America. The heroic soldiers were a business model that crushed small businesses ruthlessly. Sometimes the real villains are corporate policies destroying livelihoods for quarterly earnings. 13. The Darkness was deliberate trauma programming. The show's mature themes about genocide, totalitarianism, and extinction were intentionally traumatic. Writers wanted to create children's programming that didn't condescend or sanitize reality. Episodes featured on-screen deaths, concentration camp imagery, and existential horror. Parents complained about nightmares and anxiety in children watching dystopian content. The creative team defended it as preparing kids for real world, despite being ostensibly entertainment. The show traumatized its target audience deliberately in name of sophisticated storytelling. Sometimes respecting children's intelligence means giving them nightmares they never asked for. 12. Mattel pulled funding mid-season. Two-Production Mattel canceled the show during Season 2 production, leaving episodes incomplete and cast unemployed. The toy sales catastrophe made continuing financially impossible, despite moderate ratings success. Actors showed up to sets learning their jobs no longer existed, effective immediately. Completed scripts for 22 episodes were abandoned, leaving storylines permanently unresolved. The abrupt cancellation cost crew members their livelihoods without warning or severance. The soldiers fighting for future couldn't fight corporate accountants pulling the plug. Sometimes the war ends not with battle, but with spreadsheet showing red numbers. 11. The Nazi imagery was deliberately provocative. The Dreads regime featured explicit Nazi aesthetics that shocked parents and advocacy groups. The uniforms, propaganda, and imagery paralleled Holocaust in ways deemed inappropriate for children. Writers defended it as teaching kids about fascism's dangers through science fiction metaphor. Jewish groups complained about trivializing genocide by making it robot apocalypse entertainment. The show walked line between education and exploitation that many believed it crossed. The heroes fought literal fascism, while producers fought accusations of exploiting historical trauma. Sometimes using history as metaphor means disrespecting the actual victims. 10. The interactive toys created playground violence. Schools banned Captain Power toys after children began shooting each other during recess aggressively. The interactive weapons encouraged kids to aim and fire at each other in ways concerning educators. Multiple schools reported increased physical altercations connected to Captain Power toy conflicts. Child psychologists warned the toys were teaching children to simulate violence against peers. Mattel claimed toys taught hand-eye coordination while ignoring behavioral problems they created. The weapons of the future were teaching present-day children to weaponize play. Sometimes toys designed to entertain instead teach exactly the wrong lessons. 9. The budget overruns destroyed Landmark Entertainment. Production company Landmark Entertainment was bankrupted by Captain Power's financial catastrophe. The company borrowed heavily to cover CGI costs, that Mattel refused reimbursing fully. Landmark's closure cost 200-plus employees their jobs when the company dissolved. The studio's other projects were canceled when lenders foreclosed on all assets. Captain Power destroyed an entire production company through financial mismanagement and corporate greed. The show about surviving apocalypse created actual apocalypse for everyone making it. Sometimes the greatest casualties are the people behind the cameras nobody remembers. 8. The cliffhanger ending was bankruptcy. Season 1's cliffhanger wasn't artistic choice but production running out of money mid-episode. The incomplete finale aired because broadcast commitments required something, anything, to fill time slot. Voiceover narration was added hastily to create semblance of conclusion to incomplete story. Viewers waited for resolution that bankruptcy made permanently impossible to deliver. The soldiers' final battle ended mid-fight because bank accounts hit zero. The heroic quest ended not with victory, but with insufficient funds. Sometimes the most realistic thing about dystopian future is how abruptly everything ends. 7. Larry DiTillio, embedded anti-Reagan politics. Writer Larry DiTillio filled scripts with criticism of Reagan-era military policy and corporate deregulation. The Dread regime represented his views on American militarism and authoritarian capitalism. The show's dystopia was deliberate warning about where he believed Reagan policies were leading. Conservative groups complained about liberal indoctrination in children's action show. DiTillio's politics were so embedded that network censors missed most of the subversive content. The toy commercial was secretly leftist propaganda attacking the administration's policies. Sometimes revolution happens in children's programming because nobody's watching carefully enough. 6. The cast's injuries were never reported. Multiple serious on-set injuries were concealed from unions and safety inspectors deliberately. Peter MacNeil suffered second-degree burns during pyrotechnic malfunction that went unreported. The production intimidated injured actors into silence with threats of replacement and blacklisting. Several crew members developed repetitive stress injuries from overwork without proper breaks. The systematic cover-up of workplace injuries violated labor laws across multiple jurisdictions. The heroes portraying survivors were themselves surviving workplace exploitation and danger. Sometimes the real dystopia is the set where dystopia gets filmed. 5. The toy recalls were kept secret. Mattel quietly recalled thousands of defective interactive toys without public announcement. The company bought back inventory from retailers to prevent news coverage of failures. Parents who complained about malfunctions received replacements but were asked to sign NDAs. The recall was handled through voluntary exchanges, avoiding legal obligation to report defects. Consumer protection agencies never learned the full extent of product failures. The weapons of the future were secretly defective junk that company covered up systematically. Sometimes innovation means hiding how badly your products fail. 4. The show's cancellation killed interactive TV. Captain Power's commercial failure convinced networks that interactive television was commercially unviable. The concept of audience participation through technology was abandoned industry-wide for decades. Multiple interactive TV projects were immediately canceled after Captain Power's catastrophe. The pioneering attempt at interactive storytelling became cautionary tale preventing future innovation. An entire category of entertainment was stillborn because one expensive failure traumatized executives. The soldiers' defeat wasn't just narrative, but technological setback lasting 20-plus years. Sometimes one failure's shadow is long enough to block an entire avenue of progress. 3. Straczynski used it as Babylon. 5. Prototype, J. Michael Straczynski embedded early Babylon. 5 concepts into Captain Power scripts as testing ground. The character arcs and mythology were dry runs for his later successful series. He later admitted Captain Power was practice for storytelling he'd perfect years later. The failed show became laboratory, where he learned lessons that made Babylon 5 successful. The cancellation freed him to pursue vision that Captain Power's toy mandate prevented. The soldier's failure taught Straczynski exactly what not to do next time. Sometimes, your biggest failure is education, preparing you for eventual success. 2. The revival attempts are legal. Nightmare. Multiple revival attempts have collapsed due to impossibly tangled rights ownership. Mattel owns toys, Landmark's successors own footage, and writers own scripts separately. The rights fragmentation makes revival legally impossible without agreements nobody can negotiate. Each attempt generates lawsuits from parties claiming exclusive rights to various elements. The show exists in legal limbo, where everyone owns pieces but nobody can assemble them. The soldiers are trapped in intellectual property hell with no power to escape. Sometimes characters survive apocalypse, but can't survive lawyers. 1. The show predicted drone warfare and surveillance. State Captain Power accidentally forecasted military drones and automated warfare 30+ years early. The digitization concept paralleled how modern warfare removes human presence from killing. The Biodread regime's surveillance state mirrored modern digital monitoring and data collection. Writers created dystopia as metaphor that became literal reality gradually. Military historians cite the show as early pop culture exploration of automated combat ethics. The cautionary tale about technology replacing humanity became instruction manual. Civilization followed. The soldiers fought future that we built anyway, proving dystopia isn't warning, but prophecy. Bonus: the toys are now worth thousands. The defective toys that bankrupted retailers are now valuable collectibles worth $500 to $3,000. The commercial failure created scarcity that collectors prize decades later. Mattel's overproduction became underproduction when most toys were destroyed or recalled. The weapons that failed in 1987 succeeded as nostalgia objects in collector markets. The financial disaster became investment opportunity for people who kept broken toys. The soldier's legacy is teaching that failure becomes valuable if you wait long enough. Sometimes trash becomes treasure when time creates artificial scarcity from actual garbage. From suicide to seizures, from bankruptcy to workplace injuries, Captain Power wasn't just interactive television pioneer, it was barely controlled disaster teaching hard lessons about innovation's costs. These soldiers broke technological barriers, broke their production company, and taught us that sometimes the future arrives before we're ready to survive it. Until next time, remember, power on means nothing if the power runs out, and knowing that is half the battle. The other half is surviving the corporate dystopia creating your entertainment. Soldier units, retreat. The real enemy was always the budget.